I'd like to call to order the September 24th meeting of the Code Enforcement and Nuisance Board. Roll call.
Bone.
Here.
Holman.
Here.
Gonzalez.
Here.
Harmon.
Here.
LaPointe.
Here. All right. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to read the minutes from the August 27th meeting. If so, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Motion.
Second. Oh, go ahead. So, LaPointe, Holman, roll call.
Bone.
Yes.
Holman.
Yes.
Gonzalez.
Yes.
Harmon.
Yes.
LaPointe.
Yes.
Staff will stand so they can be sworn in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes, sir. All right, thank you so much.
First one.
Sure.
Agenda item 2024-48, Code Compliance Case 2024-0513, Citation 2024-933.27, Location 1118 Fair Street. Owner is Vulcan Investments LLC. Respondent is Kelly Thomas. Officer is McKenna Tabor.
This case was the result of a proactive inspection that was conducted on January 29th of this year. During the initial inspection, the following violations were observed for damaged roof, tires, and accumulation of construction material. An NOV was sent to the PVA listed owner and address on that date with the compliance inspection date listed of February 13, 2024. On February 14th, the property was inspected and remained in violation. An attempt at contact was made with the property owner, Kelly Thomas, at that time. A voicemail was left with him requesting that he contact our office regarding the property. On February 20th, the property was inspected and remained in violation. The rear of the property was able to be observed at that time due to another inspection that was being conducted at an adjacent property, and additional code violations were discovered at that time. On February 23rd and February 28th, the property was inspected and remained in violation. On March 6th, the property was inspected and remained in violation, but contact was able to be made with Mr. Thomas at that date, and he was advised of the condition of the property, including concerns that there was possibly homeless subjects on site and maybe in the house. And Mr. Thomas advised that he would go look at the property on that date. On March 15th, the property was inspected and remained in violation with no notable progress made towards compliance. March 20th, the property was inspected and remained in violation. Contact again was made with Mr. Thomas, and we discussed the condition of the property. He said he would come by and remove the tires on that date, and that he had hired somebody to come remove the furniture from behind the house, but requested an extension for this to take place after March 25th. On March 27th, the property was inspected and remained in violation. Contact was made with the property owner again, and he was asked to have the property in total compliance for all the exterior violations by close of business day on April the 1st, as there had been no progress or effort that was made at that point. On April 2nd, the property was inspected and remained in violation, and a citation was issued and posted on the property, as well as sent by first class and certified mail to the PVA listed owner. The reinspection date listed on the first citation was April the 12th, 2024, and the following violations were added on that citation for broken, boarded, and missing windows, some protective treatment for some damaged and missing siding, indoor furniture that was outdoor, accumulation of landscaping debris, some garbage, and accumulated tires that were stored outdoors. And there's those citation pictures that were posted on that date. And you can see the broken windows and the damaged siding in those photos. Just all the furniture and the garbage and stuff that was still accumulated back there. On April 15th, the property was inspected and remained in violation. No contact had been made by Mr. Thomas to our office during that time. The initial citation was still on the front door, and it appeared there had been additional items that were accumulated to the rear of the property. On April 16th, the property was inspected and remained in violation. A second citation was written and posted on the property. Shortly after that inspection and that citation had been posted, Mr. Thomas came to our office and requested to appeal the first citation that was written on April the 2nd. And he was informed that the time frame for that appeal had already passed and he wasn't going to be able to appeal that one. On that date, Mr. Thomas had a conversation with the division manager, Mr. Shagaratsky, about the case, as well as several others on some other properties that we have. And an agreement was made that since the citation that was issued on April 16th had been written but not yet mailed, that we would afford him 24 hours to clean the exterior property, and the citation issuance would be postponed due to him coming and being willing to work towards compliance that day. That day, he explained his intent to demolish the house and that he had applied for a demolition permit. He was provided resources to bring the property into compliance, and it was reiterated to him that he had until the next date to have all the exterior stuff picked up, or he would receive the actual second citation. And there's just the photos of that day that was taken prior to that citation being written. As you can see, the window was still broken, the siding's still messed up. And then that was the rear of the property. That was, the picture on the left was taken at 8:53 that morning, and there was a subject under the blanket. And then the next picture was taken at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and that person had left. So just adding to that, there's people that stay there and find it an attractive nuisance because it does attract people to stay over there. On April 17th, Mr. Thomas communicated with our office that he had reached out to a contractor to complete the work that we had discussed. And I was able to make contact with that contractor, who said he was not aware of the extent of the violations on the property at that time, and he asked for a little more time. He didn't think that he was going to be able to get all the work done that day, but he felt that he could get it done the next day. So we allowed him an extension on the timeline for compliance, given that there was a contractor that had agreed to do the work. On April 18th, the property was inspected and the nuisance violations had been abated. At that time, since Mr. Thomas had applied for a demolition permit, a decision was made to keep the case open and monitor the property until the permit had been approved and the demolition had taken place. On May 2nd, May 16th, and May 20th, the property was inspected and remained free of nuisance violations. The demolition permit was still in the application status, had not been yet approved during that time. On May 29th, the permit status was reviewed and appeared to be delayed through approval through occupational licensing, and contact was made with Mr. Thomas requesting that he get in contact with our office to see what the hangup was in their approval, and he advised that he would contact them. On June the 10th, the status of the permit was reviewed and it was determined that the permit had been approved. Mr. Thomas was contacted that date to provide a timeline for moving forward with the demolition. On that date, he advised that he was busy with a homeless encampment at another property and that he was unsure of when he could get to the property on Fair Street, this property. On July 2nd, the property had been approved, the permit for the demolition had been approved and had been on file for over 30 days with no work towards demolition or any tentative plans that had been relayed to our office for demolition to take place. And follow-up contact was made with Mr. Thomas, and he advised that he had not received the demolition permit. It was explained to him that he would have to actually go pick it up from the building division and to get in contact with their office in regard to it. On July 17th, he was contacted again, he contacted us and advised that there was an administrative issue that he would have to resolve prior to receiving the permit. And on August 9th, he forwarded a copy of the demolition permit in hand, and follow-up on the property was made, and it was noted that the property was in the same condition as it had previously been. On August 22nd, contact was attempted with Mr. Thomas regarding the property as there had been no communication over the past month. And on August 23rd, he responded to my previous messages stating that he's already told me that he had the permit. At that time, it was explained to him that he had exceeded the full time frame for demolition, and he said that he was not aware that there was a time frame for demolition to take place. I told him about the city ordinance, about the time frame that there is regarding demolition permits. And on August 28th, the property was inspected and remained in violation, and no communication had been received from Mr. Thomas, nor had there been any progress made. While I was there conducting that inspection, there was an open and secured window on the rear of the property, and I was able to call him to let him know the window was open and asked him to come shut that window and make sure the property was secured. A citation was issued and posted on the property, as well as sent by first class and certified mail to the PVA listed owner with the compliance date listed of September 9, 2024, and the following violations were added for the demolition permit that was requested and approved on July 23rd. Vacant structure, and land, duty of maintenance, and duty of maintenance of the street, sidewalks, drainage area, and public ways due to some garbage and some other materials that had accumulated over on the street. And there's pictures of that citation.
I have one question real quick. Is there a valid demolition permit out there? Way I read it and way you explained, I think they applied for it, got
Yes.
it,
So he had
but
applied
let
for the
it, let it expire.
So it's not expired yet, but the city ordinance for a demolition permit is that you have within 5 days of issuance of the permit to begin demolition, and you have 30 days from the time that it was approved to get it completed. So at this point, it had already surpassed that 30-day time frame.
Would he have to come back in and get another demolition permit to go forward? That one's still there, but he's exceeded the time.
Yes, and he hadn't communicated with us any kind of intent to move forward or anything, hadn't told me that he had a contractor slated for anything, so there wasn't any progress being made towards demolition.
To clarify, a demolition permit in general for a non-dangerous, vacant, unsecured structure is good for 6 months, but city ordinance says that if a building is considered dangerous, vacant, unsecured, or meets the other criteria, which this property does, then it must be initiated within 5 days in order to prevent people from getting a demolition permit and just keep renewing it every 6 months and letting it sit there. So it's not all demolition permits, it's just structures that meet certain criteria, which this property does.
There's that picture of that open window that was there that day. It hadn't been open during previous inspections, so it just led me to believe someone was probably in there. And there's still just garbage and accumulated materials at the back of the property back there. As of today, the property remains in violation. This case has been open for 238 days. Still the same violations for the demolition permit, the vacant structure, duty of maintenance, the roof, broken windows, and the garbage. It's kind of hard to see in that picture, but that front door, the glass is broken out of it and it's boarded up from the inside. And then the window on the side has glass broken out of it and sticking out. If someone was to walk by, it'd probably snag their shirt on it or their arm maybe, because the glass does stick out from it. And then the back of it. The furniture all has been removed from the back of it, but there still is garbage. There's some couch cushions or some pillows still back there on the ground. There's scattered food, and the window has been secured since then. There's a large hole in the side of the house. It looks like there's been something stuffed down inside of it to try to prevent something from getting in there, but. And the window at the top, I don't know if it if it slid down or if it's actually open right now. It's kind of hard to see, but it looks like it could possibly be open.
Someone here to speak on behalf of this? All right. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Do.
All right. Go ahead. Give us your side.
Homeless can hurt a piece of property, but anyway. On this particular piece of property, I was dealing with the homeless encampment down on Church Street, but there's also when it got written up for all the roof and so forth, actually I'd met with Mr. Gonzalez, who lives maybe not directly across the street, but maybe down a little bit. And we had discussions. I didn't even know who he was. He didn't know who I was. And he had offered a lot for sale to the next of it, adjoining it. And we had talked about possibly that would be a development potential. So he offered that lot for sale to me. And I told him I was going to be doing some due diligence on what kind of multifamily I could put up in there. That area of town, I haven't sold myself to build new construction up there yet, but a guy that I know, Mitch Wright, down on off of Payne Street, had put a fourplex new construction, and it looked like it was being kept well. And so I went to planning and zoning and did a little research and was doing some due diligence when I think they hit me up again on this. And I said, well, I'm probably going to tear it down to do a development. And that's when I got the demolition permit. It took a month or two because they said I had something to deal with my occupational tax, which the city worked it out on themselves. I inquired about it, but then a month later, they worked it out, and finally I contacted them, and they said, yeah, your permit was ready. So I went up and got the permit. But when you get a permit, they don't tell you got 30 days or 6 months or whatever. So I didn't have any idea. So I'm working on Church Street, I'm working on due diligence on this, that, and the other, and then they hit me again with these citations. And I meet with Mr. Gonzalez, which he tells me he's since sold the lot. So with that being said, I'm not going to demolish the house. I'm going to go ahead and fix it up. I've contacted Chris Keene with Walt Forsey Roofing. Actually, there was supposed to be a new roof on it last week, but they got rained or whatever. But I got behind. I don't know how because it was sunny. But this week, it's not looking good because of all the rain. But there will be a new roof put on it. I've got pictures. I did text you this morning. I've got pictures where Scott Waste did come and get the big debris out front. I removed some of the glass out of that window, and I've got another glass to go in except for the rain this afternoon. And I got a huge stump taken out of the yard that you had requested. And I got all that debris that you had pictures this morning on. It's since been taken out. I've got pictures if you'd like to see that. But on this, like I said, on this house, our new roof will be put on if not this week, by next week. And then the repairs, I've got to have a new roof before I can do anything on the inside because the ceilings are leaking. Some of the ceilings have actually came in. So, but I think Brad met with me on this piece of property sometime during that timeline to help me get the junk removal. Do you remember that, Brad? You gave me some names.
Sir, I provided you with the names of our city contractors.
Right, help me out there. And he alluded to me the fact that there was somebody sleeping underneath that blanket that day that picture was taken. So homeless people were trying to take over this place as well, I guess. But I think we've got it all stopped. Majority of the trash in the backyard is gone. The debris pile out front is gone. The stump is gone. Basically a new roof put on it, and then one new window on the back window is now secured. So it's in progress. Like I said, I think there was a little bit of a delay because of my due diligence with Mr. Gonzalez's piece of property. I still, probably in hindsight, wish I would have pulled the trigger on that, but I didn't in time. So that was several months of the problem. But like I said, I got Church Street cleaned up. I don't know if we'll be covering that tonight or not, but I got this one on the way.
So let me ask you this. So case has been open for 238 days. How did you let this place get into such disrepair? Because
the roof had started leaking, and we put a tarp on it, and that just seemed to secure it from leaking. And then I just got busy with my other properties. I'm just a one-man show. I don't have any employees. I contract everything out. You got, I don't know how the number of units is 20 or 30, but I do all the management myself. And on something like this, I put a tarp on it, and I like to come back. If I'm not going to tear it down, I'd like to come back and do it right. Because I've already got, I was in the process of remodeling it once. Inside is all the tile, ceramic tile and stuff like that I was getting ready to do for the kitchen and so forth. So those supplies have been sitting in there for probably a year and a half. I just hadn't gotten to it yet. And then when the tarp came off, the roof leaked pretty bad, and then the ceiling in the kitchen totally came down. And so by that time, I'm like, well, I might as well just gut this house. So I probably will end up with a total gut on this house.
What about the stuff on the outside, the trash and all the other
It's
stuff?
all been picked up.
But I'm saying, why did it take to this point to get that done?
Well, because I cleaned it up with Brad's people, but then 2 days later, the same stuff was back there. The homeless people just drag it back there. Behind this house, it's kind of wooded, and you can't see it. And there was a lean-to back there that I tore down that the drug people were going back there left and right. I mean, police would catch them back there all the time. I had to tear it down. It's just, when homeless people find an empty structure, if you're not on it every single day, they're dragging trash on it. They're dragging couches, they're dragging everything. Every single day if you don't go by there. Every day.
Had you been in contact with the police to let them know that the property was being?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And were they responsive to it?
They made the extra patrols over there, especially when that lean-to was there. But once I tore that down, then that kind of helped out. And I would go by, because I had to board up the front door, because they kept trying to break out the window and get in there. And I put a new window in the very back and jammed it up, and they hadn't broken it yet. They still hadn't broken it, but she called it open the other day, so I did go back and board it up until I can get to it. But, you know, like I said, I don't know, Mr. Gonzalez, I don't know if you've closed on that piece of property and turned it over to those people?
Yes, I sold that property earlier this year.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that was some time that it adjoins this piece of property and would have made an L-shaped piece of property. And his lot was probably 2 to 3 times the size of mine. So it would have afforded a number of units. My little lot probably would have just taken care of the parking.
Mentioned that you're a one-man show. Seeing as how like this property is going into state of disrepair, why not hire somebody? Why not hire a second person to at least help you out with it so you don't end up here?
Try to hire somebody in today's climate. Trust me, very, very hard. Very. I've hired, no telling, numerous people over since COVID. Since COVID, you can't get anybody for less than $30 an hour, and they don't know what they're doing. They do not know what they're doing. So, no, I'm constantly, I've probably been through, since this property, I've probably been through 5 to 6 maintenance men. My last one lasted about 3 months. I mean, they just want to sit on the couch, do nothing.
Officer Tabor, have there been any complaints from neighbors?
For this property, yes. So there's a person that lives across the street that I actually spoke to. I don't know his name, so, but he's seen me out there several times, and he'll stop and ask me kind of what the status is, and he just says the same thing, that it's been sitting vacant for a long time, and that he wishes that it was fixed or someone else was living there, and he's reiterated that he's got family that he would like to see, move in the neighborhood, but he said that he's just made complaints, and there's homeless people over there. I've not seen a whole lot of progress over there, and I have seen several homeless people over there. But it does warrant complaints from people in the surrounding houses.
We had the next door neighbor watching it, the person in the White House. I spoke with him 2 days ago. He's watching it for me. But he hadn't noticed anybody in the back in a while. So if there is somebody occupying, he's got my phone number to call me.
Make a motion to uphold the citation and fine in the amount of $1,005.54.
Second.
Point Holman, roll call.
Beerbone,
Yes.
Holman,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Abstain.
Harmon,
Yes.
LaPointe.
Yes.
Next case.
Second, let me get that one. Agenda item 2024-49, Code Compliance Appeal, case 2024-1713 on citation 2024-3151.18. Location is 815 Church Avenue. Owner is Vulcan Investments LLC. Respondent is Kelly Thomas. Officer is McKenna Tabor.
This case was brought before the board at the August hearing. An appeal was filed for the second citation that was issued on the property. That citation was upheld at the last meeting. Just to refresh everybody, on March 13th, the initial inspection was conducted on this property. An NOV was sent with the compliance inspection date of March 25th. On April 22nd, the property remained in violation and was issued a citation. June 24th, the property remained in violation and was issued a citation, and that second citation was appealed on what was heard at the August meeting on August 27th. On August 28th, the property was inspected and remained in violation. A third citation was issued and posted on the property, as well as sent by first class and certified mail to the PVA listed owner. The compliance inspection date listed was 9/9, which has since been postponed due to the filed appeal. The following violations were added for areas of damaged and missing siding, as well as improper parking for vehicles that were parked in the yard. And there's that citation that was posted that day. As well as the photos from that day was still the roof damage and all the things that were still accumulated to the rear in the alley. And there are 2 vehicles that were improperly parked at the time of the inspection. And one of those vehicles is inoperable. It's been expired for a couple of years. On the 20th, so that was Friday, Mr. Thomas had requested that I meet with him at this property, so we were able to meet on this past Friday on the 20th, and we're able to discuss the shape of the property. During that time, we discussed this property, and I will say that we did discuss the Fair Street property and kind of what needed to be done to bring both of these into compliance. On that day, I took some pictures just while I was there. That was what the property looked like on Friday with the appliance sitting in the back. I do believe he has stated he has intentions of evicting the people that were still staying on the one side of the property. For the vehicle that's parked in the yard, we did leave them a door tag requesting that they move the vehicle actually on the car. So as of today, when I went by to do an inspection, that vehicle was parked like it should. I don't think the vehicle was there at all this morning. But as you can see, this stuff was still at the end of the alley on that date. But we were able to discuss the property then and get on the same page. And as of today, the property does still remain in violation. The case has been open for 195 days. It still has roof and drainage damage, as well as an accumulation of rubbish and junk and debris on the property. There's still that appliance on the back as of today, and just the overall lack of duty and maintenance of private property. As you can see, there's some soffit that's hanging down that's damaged from the roof. And then that back part with the roof damage.
So that's the second Section 8 tenant that we're going to put on the road. Saturday or Sunday, I put the 30-day notice on their door. This Section 8 tenant actually had gotten behind on rent. She was paying additional rent. And she had gotten behind because apparently she wasn't paying attention to when Section 8 sent her reexamination papers to where her rent would increase. So she'd been paying the same amount for a while, and the lady that helps me on books didn't catch it. So we called it. Probably, well, I sent her notice on August 20 about delinquent rents. And prior to evicting her for delinquent rents, I was hoping that Section 8 or that code would jump in and assist me here, because I've been before a judge on eviction on Section 8 tenants, and they're kind of a little sympathetic to them, which I understand. But I didn't think I might not get an eviction based solely on her rent arrears. But since they put these new violations on, I put that in her 30-day notice that due to code violations, which is a direct violation of a code in her lease agreement, that allows me to evict her. I felt that a judge will grant me the eviction, surely, for that. So, her lease started in 2017, and since then, she was a month to month. So I have to give her a 30-day notice instead of a 7-day notice. My lease calls for a 7-day notice, but that's if you're within the lease. She's outside the lease, so it reverts to a month to month. So I had to give her a 30-day notice. And so that's posted on her door. I texted McKenna pictures this morning of the last time I agreed to what I was understood to pick up that one big pile by the telephone pole. But when we met down there Friday, I was informed I had to clean up the church's parking lot and the guy next door's parking lot. And so subsequently, I texted her pictures this morning that it was all loaded up, taken off the property. It was after 9 o'clock, or after 8:30 she took the pictures, but I texted her about, 10:30 or 11. I've got pictures on my phone. Everything except for that washing machine, which is new, which the lady's gonna come and get that probably next day or so. But I can't clean up the rest of her property until I evict her, because it's personal property. And so we're 30 days away from having this place totally empty. And so I can pay attention to it. So I was a little confused at why I got popped again for this by 8 o'clock the next morning. And I left here at 4:30 or 5 o'clock that afternoon, and by that next morning there was another citation. I was like, I agreed to clean up the area, but between 4:30 and 8 o'clock the next morning, that doesn't give me too much time. But it did get cleaned up. It's totally cleaned up right now. Except for the only thing it's not cleaned up, the car was gone this morning because they put a tag on it Friday. The stuff that's her personal property that's immediately next to the porch there is the only thing that remains. On the other side, everything is gone. Everything behind the church is being cleaned up. Everything on the telephone pole, plus the shrubs on the other side have been cleaned up. So I don't understand why I would be charged again. Am I being charged again? That's what I don't understand. We left here with an agreement that I would clean it up, and by the next morning, there was a citation on the door. I don't feel that was sufficient enough time to get it cleaned up.
But you agree it's in violation today, right?
Due to my tenant, that's personal property. I can't, until I evict her.
Whose vehicle was it?
It was the tenant's.
That tenant?
Yes, not the
So,
tenant.
sorry, not to cut in, but the roof is still damaged, and I don't think that's the tenant's fault.
No, that's Chris Keene.
but-
He's gonna fix both of them at the same time.
Okay, but also on the 20th, when I met with you, you said you weren't under the impression that you were responsible for it, and that was what the code board had asked for you to do, was clean up the
I
adjacent
promised
property?
Mr. Point that I would clean up that pile. And I did clean up that pile, but then when we met back down there, I did not understand that I was to clean up the second pile and the third pile.
Well, actually, what we discussed was that you would pick up all the trash, including what was drug onto somebody else's property, because we spoke and I said, would you expect me to clean it up if it was my stuff?
There was that
Correct.
huge pile besides that telephone pole.
We
Okay?
did discuss
And
that.
even the lady that cleaned this trash up over by the church, she's been down there for years and years. She told me that, and there was wood that had been down there for years. I knew it had, but that's fine. We went ahead and cleaned it up. It's all been cleaned up now.
So the last property we just discussed, you blamed that you were doing too much work on this one.
I
But
was
you
doing
were
a lot of
still
work
in.
on this one. I didn't do anything on that one.
Okay, so what has taken so long to get the roof done?
I was actually gonna repair this roof, but then when Chris gave me a bid for the Fair Street, I decided to just go ahead and put half of that roof. The other side of this roof was put on about a year and a half ago, so it only needs a half a roof.
What has taken so long?
Actually, this was an insurance claim. I believe we did get this insurance. I'm not sure. I'll have to go back and check on this. But we tarped everything, and, we tarped it, and when you tarp it, it don't leak, and you just kind of wait till you get better weather.
Well, you're saying, you know, in 30 days that once the tenant's out, that everything will be better.
Well, I can get the exterior all cleaned out.
My point leaning into this is, who's to say that when you get another tenant, it's not going to be the same thing?
Probably won't own the property.
Oh, I was going to say, it sounds like from the fact that, you know, you've had two cases here that maybe these two properties are a little too much for you. If you're a one-man show, you contract things out, you've got 20 or 30 other properties, maybe you need to let properties like this go so that way you don't end up coming back and forth in front of us because you're not able to maintain them at the level they need to be maintained in.
Well, this Church Street property was kind of a different circumstance that I wasn't used to. A true homeless encampment taking over your property. There was a guy that piddled with a lot of junk. I understood he was a lot of it, but I did not realize that it literally had been taken over by a homeless encampment, and he was allowing it. I mean, he had tents set up out there, which I thought covered up his washing machines and ranges and stuff that he worked on constantly. That's what I thought was underneath there. But come out and find out it was a full-fledged homeless encampment.
And that may be the case, but again, that comes back on you when you're the owner of it. Whatever encampment they have or whatever comes, that's on you as the owner. So that's when you have to make the decision of, do I keep it? Do I sell it? Do I make certain?
Like I said, I didn't realize until the police officers actually told me what I had. I did not realize what I had going on down there. I mean, I really didn't. I mean, they're the ones that told me that, no, you had a full-fledged homeless encampment down there. And I didn't realize that.
Well, sir, that just tells me how much attention you give your property.
No, the lady on the one side has been in there since 2017. I've never had one issue with her. That's 6 years that I've never had one issue. The guy on the other side, he started bringing issues this last year. And, it just compounded until it was a big problem. Sonia, you asked Sonia, she worked, how long did you work with
So I
Mr.
will say
Russell?
that when Sonia and I met with you last week, that we discussed this property, and you told us that you hadn't been over here for 8 months to a year due to some personal
I
issues.
did not say 8 months to a year. I said I hadn't been down there in quite a while. I'd met Sonia down there just how many months ago?
It was over a year, but you did tell us you weren't checking on your properties for a year.
I don't think that you and I have been over years.
It has been.
Russell.
It has been. It was before. I remember meeting with you and telling you what you're getting yourself into with him.
Well, the question, it appears to me, is the property in violation? And it clearly is. And therefore, I make a motion to uphold the citation and fine in the amount of $1,005.54.
I'll second.
Holman and Harmon, roll call.
Beerbone,
Yes.
Holman,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Harmon,
Yes.
Lapointe.
Yes.
So you've got the citation and fine. Still, the goal is compliance, so making sure this property and the previous property are put into compliance. And if you're unclear about what compliance is, McKenna will be glad to walk you through step by step what that looks like.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next case.
Agenda item 2024-50 is a code compliance appeal, case 2024-660 on citation 2024-1267.12. Location is 868 Nutwood Street. The owner is Christina E. Perkins. Respondent is Mr. John Evans, who is present, and the officer is Sonia Dudrick.
This case is a result of proactive inspection on 2224, and during initial inspection, a protective treatment, missing siding, and accumulation of construction material were observed. Send an NOV to PVA listed owner and an address with a compliance inspection date of 3/4/24. As you can see on the picture, there's exposed wood and missing siding on the side of the house. A lot of construction material in the back. Missing siding on the side of the house. On 3/5/24, the property was inspected, remained in violation. They did install the house wrap on the side of the house. On 4/5, the property inspected and remained in violation. I left a door tag on the property. On 4/8, 3 days later, the contractor for the property, John Evans, called and advised he's waiting on a bricklayer to install the brick siding. So a month later, the property was inspected, remained in violation. Again, on 6/6 and 6/14, a voicemail was left for the contractor for an update on the siding. And then on 6/18, a contact was made with the contractor who advised the bricklayer would be there in 3 weeks to do all the work. A month later, the contractor called stating he's still waiting on the bricklayer. He stated they had a permit on file, but he was advised that the permit had expired. The permit was originally applied on 7/12/2022, and since that time, no inspections were made, requested, or completed by the building division. As a result, the permit was canceled on 10/3/23. On 7/16, a contractor went and spoke with the building division, and they reopened a permit, and as of today, no inspections were completed on this permit application. Multiple calls and voicemail left for the contractor to call me back, 7/23, 8/14, 8/22, and 9/5. On 9/5, the property was inspected and remained in violation. A citation was issued and posted on a property, as well as sent by first-class and certified mail to PVA listed owner. The compliance inspection date listed on citation was 9/16, which has been postponed due to appeal. The following violation were on the citation: protective treatment, missing siding, accumulation of construction material, placement of trash containers, accumulation of rubbish or garbage. I have received multiple complaints at this property. This is the day the citation was issued. As you can see, there's a house wrap, siding still missing on the property. There's brick in the back. There's multiple piles of brick. There's some in the back in the alley. Keep going. There's some in the front. There's a garbage container left at the curb, at the sidewalk. Construction material back behind, underneath the tarp. When I was posting a citation, I made a contact with property owner. She stated they have permit on file and should not be cited. She was informed having a permit on file is good, but without any work or inspection completed, the property still remains in violation and is subject to a citation. As of today, property remains in violation with protective siding missing, accumulation of construction material, placement of trash in containers, accumulation of rubbish or garbage. The case has been open 235 days. This is today. There's construction material on the side. There's a house wrap, still missing siding. As you can see, there's a container and a place for the trash container in the back alley on the left side picture. However, there's still 2 containers in the front on the sidewalk that have not been moved from the day of a trash pickup. A pile of brick and construction material still in the back, along with a pile of stuff in the front yard and a brick. There's scattered brick pieces in the back alley.
Any neighbor complaints?
I have received multiple complaints on that property since I started the case.
Evans, somebody here to represent? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, if you give me your name, then go ahead.
My name is John Evans.
All right. Go ahead, sir.
I kind of run this place for Christina Perkins. During the storm back in 21, December, she had 5 houses hit. 4 of them been completely redone. Her house was the biggest one. The neighbor next door's tree fell through her back of her house. We put it back together, and as we were putting it back together, I had a little bit of problems with contractors, so I had to let a few of them go. And meanwhile, she came down with a bad disease, which is cancer, and then she had to go into this cancer treatment. I told the lady up there that right now, everything has been stopped. I was working for a contractor to come and do the brick because that siding isn't made anymore, and I was going to remove half of it and put brick wainscoting all the way around and use the half to go because you can't get that siding no more. Meanwhile, I was waiting for her roof. Her roof was a very hard roof to get your hands on. It took a year and a half. They started manufacturing again. I got a hold of it. I got the roof on. Then I got it all framed up, got it all to where it is. It's been in no violation. The trash cans are not on the sidewalk. The trash cans are on her property. That's the driveway. That's her driveway. That place has been cleaned up all the time. She's given only 2 citations, had 1 citation and 2 something, and then 4 something, and never heard from her again besides phone calls. And then she comes and puts a stick on that property 5 months later. So to me, it sounds like, she's barking up the wrong tree. Now, all she had to do is tell me the siding. She knows about the siding. She knows I got a bricklayer. She knows the bricks on that property is going to go around that house because you can't buy that siding no more. But when she got sick, the doctors told me, whatever you do, don't stress her out because she could have a bad thing from this cancer. So I pulled off the job. The job's only been pulled off of since I think Christmas, last November, till now. Now she's getting to where they're going to release her, and I think another 10 days, we got 1 more doctor's appointment, and then we can start back with construction. That's my whole thing on this property.
Do you have somebody lined up to complete the job, or are you
Yes,
starting
I do.
fresh?
Yep.
So when are they?
As soon as I
Assuming-
get a clearance from the doctor with her, I can get them there within the next couple of weeks.
How
There's-
long will the job take?
Probably less than 10 days to do.
Okay.
And I can, respect the fact that she has cancer, but was there not an ability to at least ask her, hey, I know what you're going through, but can we go ahead and get the project taken care of because of the nature of codes reaching out to me and just say, hey, let me handle all this, but just want to get your okay to move forward with the project?
We're like I said, 10 or 12 days before she gets completely the clean bill of health. I mean, we've been going through, it's all up in Nashville. She's been running back and forth 3-4 times a week, all to Nashville, to get all this stuff taken care of. So I only got like 10 more days. She's got 1 more doctor to get a clear bill of health, and then it'll go full bore. And I think it's on the 6th or 7th of next month, October.
And was, Sonia made aware of this circumstance?
She was made aware of it.
Yes, we have spoken many times, and he told me of her issues. However, on 7/9, he had a bricklayer lined up, and they were already going to do the work in July, but they haven't. So my understanding was that they are working on the house. I have called them multiple times with no response back. Of course, I did not have her information until I saw her at the property when I was issuing a citation. And again, if there was a permit on file and everything was framed up, there were no inspection requested. So all that was framed up, there was no inspection requested through the building division to make sure it was done correctly.
Permit I didn't know, but it's on file, it's the same one. She told me it was expired, went in there, he says, you're good. It's reinstated, I'm sorry, didn't check with you, but it's exactly the same permit. Everything, all the electrical, all the plumbing, everything's been inspected. I've been doing it all legal. Everything on that job's been legal. And then I get this.
The permit is valid, the permit is the same. However, the permit was applied on 7/12 of 2022 with no inspection scheduled from the building division. Again, if the framing was done, there was no inspection done from the building division at all. On 10/3/2023, so over a year ago, over a year after it was applied, they have canceled it due to no inspection requested or scheduled or follow-ups. It was not reinstated until 7/16 of 2024 when I told him that his permit was expired.
Other questions?
If not, I'll make a motion to oppose the citation found in the amount of $255.54.
Second. Harmon, Dearbone, roll call.
Dearbone,
Yes.
Holman,
Yes?
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Harmon,
Yes.
Lapointe.
We do wish her well, but you do need to go ahead and get this taken care of, so. Sarah.
Mr. Chairman, are you ready for the next one?
Sure, next case.
Agenda item 2024-51, Code Compliance Appeal on Case 2024-7689, citation 2024-13206. Location is 422 McFadden Station Street. Owner is Duran Investments LLC. Respondent is David Duran. Officer is McKenna Tabor. And I do not believe that there is a representative in the audience for this case.
That's for the next three, for all three cases?
Like to do that, that'd be fantastic.
I'd say let's go ahead and do it for all three cases, that they stand, since nobody's here to represent them.
That brings us to agenda item 2024-54, Code Compliance Appeal on Case 2024-6502 for citation 2024-11-19-6.6. Location is 123 West 15th Avenue. The owner is Darwin and Sylvia Murray. Respondent is Sylvia Murray. Officer is McKenna Tabor. And I do not believe that anyone is here for this case as well.
Stand as, since nobody's here, so we'll move to the next one.
Case is 2024-55, Planning and Zoning. This is old business for case 2024-6662, citation 2024-11504. Location is 405 Beach Street. Owner and respondent are Luna Cruz. Officer is James Hetty. The case after this, which is item 56 for 1202 Beauty Avenue, same respondent and owner, same officer, if you'd like to combine the two of those together.
Yeah, gonna do that.
Good evening. At the last, August meeting, it was tabled, and we did, City County Planning Commission staff met with landmark engineer and Mr. Luna Cruz, and we discussed the 405 Beach Street and the 1202 Beauty Avenue properties and the options. And the engineer's going to be working on scaling back paving, landscaping with a 10-foot buffer, possible credit of some of the trees in the back, and the front and the perimeter would need some landscaping, but also the Mr. Luna Cruz was going to check in on a fence, which would need a permit, but they were going to look at the site distance with Bowling Green City personnel. That was on September the 5th, and like I say, I hadn't had any updates to offer the board with the engineering. I think it'd be reasonable for some time for the engineer to come up with some of the plans so that we could review. I did go by today and document and look at the photos. It still looks the same, but we're waiting on the engineering.
Hey, what would you say, in your expert opinion, would be a reasonable amount of time to allow for the engineer to put the plans together?
I don't know if they've got an update with the engineer. I haven't spoke with him, but what would you say? A month or two?
There was a suggestion that the next meeting may be canceled and that the next meeting may not take place again until November. And that seems, sorry, let me borrow this. I think I read on the agenda where next month's meeting may be postponed and that we might not be meeting again until November. And I believe that would be a reasonable time frame for the engineer to drop some different options for compliance to review with our staff to see what the best path forward would be for getting this property into compliance. But Mr. Cruz is here and may actually have an update since we met with the engineer at our office a couple weeks ago.
Okay, let me ask kind of a follow-up question. Say we postpone this until November to come back and there's a plan in place. You all, planning commissioners looked at it and think this is acceptable. What is your normal time frame after that to, there's a big difference between here's a plan and here's what's done.
Well, I guess with winter approaching and the asphalt plants closing, it may be that we have an approved set of plans, but that the work may not be able to take place until early part of next year. And we do have that happen occasionally. And it's not the fault of the property owner, but if there's no asphalt, then they can't do the paving. So I don't know if that helps answer the question.
I think it answered the question.
Mr. Luna Cruz, do you want to come up and maybe give us an update? I'll swear you in. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God? All right, go ahead, sir.
I just got an email yesterday from the engineers, and I have to go see them tomorrow. They sent me this. Cameron sent yesterday.
Can I borrow your microphone?
Yeah, yeah.
So what Mr. Cruz has here is just a preliminary site layout that it looks like Landmark has completed based off of our conversation that we had at the office a couple of weeks ago. So it looks like they're on their way as far as getting the plans started. This is just preliminary. There are landscaping requirements. That's a different plan set, but we at least need to kind of iron out the site layout before we get into details with landscaping or fencing or anything like that. So it looks like plans are coming together a little bit at a time.
Slowly but surely.
So with that, I would like to make a motion that we table this until at least our November meetings to give the engineers and you all time to continue to work on it, and then we'll check back in November and see where you're at on this.
Second?
Dearbone, Lapointe, roll call?
Dearbone,
Yes.
Holman,
Yes,
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Harmon,
Yes.
Lapointe.
Yes.
Sir.
Mr. Cruz, we'll send you, we'll send you another notice and let you know the date and time, okay?
Next case.
Agenda item 2024-59, this is new business. On case 2022-7830, location is 906 Fairway Street, owner is Wayne and Stacy Dickens, and Officer James Hetty is presenting the case.
can you scroll down to, let's see, probably the last couple of pages. This case is a short-term rental that, actually I've had numerous complaints, but it started back in 2022. And we met, they had a third citation appeal back in May of 2023 last year. Heather, keep scrolling till you get the, no. Oh, yeah, that'd be fine. All right, on this, it shows that I gave a citation back in November of 2022, the first citation, and then the second also in November 2022, and a third that last April 2023. And we met the appeal for the board May 23rd of 2023. I received another complaint September the 3rd of this year, 2024. And in review, I noticed that it's still on Airbnb and his private website. But as of today, I went and, is there another page or another one?
We're at 15. Can we go back?
Okay, this one right here. Today, I could go through and confirm and pay actually for 4 nights on that property. So it's still offered for short-term rental. Just to give you an idea, this 4 nights at $213, after cleaning fee, Airbnb service, taxes, it came out to be $1,429.76. So it's, unfortunately, this short-term rental is a pretty lucrative moneymaker. This shows a 310 night stay, but as you'll see there, check in September the 27th and check out September the 30th. So by definition, short-term rental is under 30 days. So this is just confirmation that it's offered for short-term rental on Airbnb. And as of today, my first complaint was September the 8th of 2022, and today, September the 24th of 2024. It's been open for 649 days.
Have any fines been paid?
The first 2, I believe, back in May, upheld. Oh, the third one was upheld in the $300 fine. So I don't know if the fines have been paid.
Looking.
Is there any way to up that daily fine? I mean, $100 compared to, if they're making 310.
Well, I wish there was, but this is the max.
And
It is.
no communication, because I mean, are they still living in Texas and have no communication?
I haven't had communication with him since back, it'll be in my notes, probably May. Mr. Dickinson, they do reside in Texas.
I'm assuming you're putting these violations on the door too?
I mail it, the violations, NOV, I usually mail first class, and I post on the property or with the registered agent. Citations, I mail first class, certified mail them also, and post on property. So every time I've posted it on the property, but the PVA let's see, they've got a different address, but through talking to Mr. Dickens, and I've got his email address. Sometimes I believe I email him a PDF of it. I'd have to find that through there, but I do mail. I've got his Texas address.
You get no response?
No, he's if in the past, I haven't since this is last year, but I just got this this new complaint in September, earlier part of this year, or this month, and I started looking into it, and yeah, I can, it's available online. But I haven't talked to him, let's see. Yeah, May 2020, 23rd of 2023 was the last time I talked to Mr. Dixon about this property. I may have talked to him about some others. But on my notes, that's what I've got here. So really, I haven't revisited this until this last third complaint that I got in beginning of September.
It seems like he has numerous properties, but only this one you field complaints over?
No, I've gotten complaints on numerous properties for short term of his other properties. This one,
What happens with those? I mean, did this come off the market at all? And then it just reopened? I mean,
there for a while, there was a lady had it leased, I believe, but it had been leased. However, like when I found the board met, we had the meeting back in May 2023 of 2023. There was a, September of last year, there was a review. So he was short-term renting it. There was a guy that had a review on Airbnb. If I could find, September the 11th, 2023. So that was months after the May 3rd citation appeal, and there it is, a review for someone staying there for 3 nights. So this one's kind of tough, probably, because you just go in, and if he changes from more than 30 nights or 30 days, then it's no longer a short-term rental. So it's just something you could probably do, just going in administratively on the post. But it's being short-term rented continuously, different times.
You fielded numerous complaints about this one.
Yes, yeah. The beginning of my report, there should be. Yeah, I had, actually, this was the 3rd complaint for this property.
I was just going to make a comment. You were asking about his other properties. In some of the other situations, though, some of those were actually in the county, so those might have been considered by the county code enforcement board, or they were in areas where the zoning, where the property was eligible based on the zoning to go before the Board of Adjustments and receive a conditional use permit for short-term rental use. But because this property is zoned RS1A, single family, it's not eligible for short-term rental use with a conditional use permit. It's just not permitted at all. So in the other situations, he had at least made an attempt to apply for a conditional use permit, but this property is simply not eligible. So like James said, there was a long-term tenant that did occupy the home. However, it's our understanding that she recently vacated the home, and it was at that time that it was posted back online for short-term rental.
are you saying there's other neighborhoods inside the city limits that you can? Is that what you're saying?
There are other properties where if it's zone multifamily, then he would at least be eligible to apply for a conditional use permit to actually
Have a
operate.
permit to be able to do this?
Yes,
Gotcha.
and even in the areas where it may be commercially zoned or someone receives a conditional use permit, you still have to receive a short-term rental license through our office to where we can verify that you're paying I just blanked out. The occupational tax, and then that the building codes have been met, and that you have proper zoning, and then we issue a license number that you have to display online. Like if you have it listed on Airbnb, then you display your license number, and it's only then that you're fully in compliance with the zoning regulations for this type of use. It's just that this property specifically is not eligible based on the zoning for any type of short-term rental. It could only be rented for 30 days or more under the zoning.
Board of Adjustments or planning and zoning, one of the two, conditional use permit.
Well, you go to the Board of Adjustments for a conditional use permit, or you could seek a zone change, depending on where the property is. If it's, you know, like downtown near the square where there might already be property zoned commercial.
Has to be granted.
Right, and in this case,
License, and then you pay the occupation.
right, there's a few steps you gotta go through.
So, let's say he keeps doing this and doesn't get a long-term tenant. What is the long-term that, outside of just the per-day fine, what would be the ultimate end game, or is there an end game besides just consistent per-day fines until, or unless there's compliance? I guess that's kind of what I'm looking at. Is there an end game? If we do certain things enough times or do certain things, we'll be able to do what?
Well, go ahead, you go first.
I think the only thing we can do is fine. But I think ultimately, this could be declared a nuisance because of the multiple violations. That would be option, and somebody would have to file a suit, city, county.
The property has been listed for sale in the last week or so. When James was out there, there was a for sale sign in the yard, and we did verify that it's actually listed for sale online through one of our local real estate agents. So maybe the problem will fix itself if the property sells. But I mean, based on the listing price, there's no way of knowing, you know, if or when somebody will actually purchase the property.
Not relevant for tonight, but I know everybody'd like to have more help. Do y'all have anybody that from time to time looks at, these short-term rental sites to see, so we won't have to wait just on a complaint?
So we have been proactive in identifying all of the short-term rentals in all of Warren County. There's close to 200. It's really hard to keep up with where they are because they're kind of secretive when they list it. Sometimes you don't get the address until you book it, and so then you have to look at the host name and compare PVA records and try to, based on photos, figure out where the properties are. I think we've identified probably 90% of them, and we have sent notices of violation to many of the property owners, and a lot of times they just simply don't know, and I truly believe that they didn't know, and they've applied through the Board of Adjustments to get a conditional use permit and have gone through proper licensing procedures to get that license number to display online. But we do still respond to ones where we do receive complaints, and this was one of the ones that we have received multiple complaints about over the years.
I'll make a motion to implement a per-day fine in the amount of $100 to run for a period of 60 days or until compliant.
I'll second it.
Point, Harmon, roll call.
Beerbone.
Yes.
Holman.
Yes?
Gonzalez.
Yes.
Harmon.
Yes.
LaPointe.
Yes.
All right. We have a request to cancel the October meeting because most of our code staff will be away at a conference, and it would be hard to conduct a meeting without you all because you all are kind of important people. So, with that, I will entertain a motion to cancel the October meeting, and then we have our next meeting in November on November 19th.
So the normal fourth Tuesday would be the same week as Thanksgiving. This room, however, is available on the 19th, which is the Tuesday just before that. So we have already reserved that with the city clerk. And so if the board so moves to cancel the October hearing, then the next one would be November 19th.
No, not to be too nosy, where's your conference?
Oklahoma City.
Make a motion.
I'll second.
LaPointe, Harmon, roll call.
Beerbone.
Yes.
Holman.
Yes?
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Harmon,
Yes.
LaPointe.
Yes.
Any other announcements? If not, motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second. Roll call.
I'm sorry, who did the motion?
LaPointe. Dearbone.
Dearbone,
Yes.
Holman,
Yes?
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Harmon,
Yes.
LaPointe.
Yes.
All right, we are adjourned.